something I was reading over the weekend. All right, well, thanks so much for your call, John. 813-238-8001. Let's try now Clay in Land O'Lakes. Clay, how are you? It's not the last time it'll happen, I'm sure. Sorry about that. The number is 813-238-239-9663. Sorry about that. Thanks.
We hope that that's what City Council will move in the direction of. But we also think that it is within the purview of their responsibilities to do so. We think that they can create a civilian review board that is independent, that has subpoena power. And everything that you just said are points that we're hearing in our community listening sessions. People want to see community policing. People want to see officers from the city in our police department. Now, there's a lot of broader issues that come up when you start talking about that, but I think it's, I think it's really important for us as residents of Tampa to start talking about what does community policing mean and what does it look like for us, and how can we create this oversight that will also make recommendations about policies and what kind of equipment the police department is buying and what kind of equipment they're not buying, what we're okay with, what we're not okay with. It'll give the community a very healthy way to have a say in how we're policed on a day-to-day level. By calling your city council member and calling the city council members at large that represent the entire city and letting them know that you support what they're doing and that you expect to see them take this issue very seriously, because I think that, if we're going to talk about this, and if the community is going to spend so much of its social and time capital trying to create a solution here, I think it falls upon our elected officials to answer the calls of their constituents and do what they're being asked to do. And we have this very interesting opportunity. This issue will be back up in City Council this upcoming Thursday. And I know that Councilman Reddick, who is now the chair of the council, is not happy with what he saw on Friday. We have our last coalition meeting this evening, but we have presented the draft of our proposal to Chairman Reddick. Yes.
Thank you so much for that call, Clay. Let's move on to Jerome in St. Petersburg. Hi, Jerome.
We're talking about the city of Tampa right now. We're not talking about St. Petersburg. We're talking about a community-driven effort in the city of Tampa to create a civilian review board here. It's okay.
All right, Jerome, thank you. Well, tell us what you know about what's going on in St. Pete and how you're involved.
Well, St. Pete does have a civilian review board.
All right, thanks so much for that call. We're going to move on. We're going to go now to Kelly in Tampa. Hi, Kelly. Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, Kelly.
So Kelly, I should ask you, since you're helping to organize this effort, what do you make of the city attorney's claim that the city council has no role in any of this? They can't make a board with subpoena power. Do you think that that's accurate?
I think it's disheartening that, this very proactive, positive, community-led effort has become about what is allowed and what is not allowed. I think that the city and the city's officials should welcome this effort and know that this is going to lead to better relationships for police officers in the communities. And day to day, ever since this has started, I've been intentionally speaking with people when I'm walking in the city or wherever I am, like, hey, what's your interaction like with police officers? I was speaking to a homeless man Saturday night in Ybor that said he had $1.50 at McDonald's, and he had, he doesn't panhandle, he doesn't hold a sign, he carries his guitar, and that's how he makes money. And he was waiting until lunch was served because he doesn't like breakfast at McDonald's, and he wanted to buy a burger. And a police officer came and trespassed him and was not told why he was trespassed. He had the money to buy the food that he was there to buy. And I know that I don't want to live in a city that hurts people that are already hurt in that way. I think I want to live in a city where people can trust police officers and know that they're there to protect them, not to target and further isolate them.
All right, well, thanks for that call, Kelly. I want to move on to, I want to go to some quotes from last Thursday's Tampa City Council. And I want to give out the number first, and also should tell you that if you're on hold right now, please stay on hold. You'll be on the air in just a second, especially Ray in Tampa. You've been holding a long time. The number to call is 813-239-9663. You can also email us at dj@wmnf.org. You can text us at 813-433-0885. And I should say, since Mayor Buckhorn's name keeps coming up, I did call his office this morning. It was, late notice. I called his office. I left a voicemail. I have not heard back. So he was invited on the show with late notice, and I did not hear back from him. But the new Tampa City Police Chief, Eric Ward, talked to Tampa City Council last Thursday, and he said that fewer bicycle riders are getting tickets this year than they were the same 3 months last year. That's Tampa Police Chief Eric Ward speaking last Thursday. He was confirmed as police chief in May, and since then the number of citations has gone down. And he said that when he became chief, he reached out to officers for solutions.
Making sure that the officer are engaged with the community.
Next.
Part of our responsibilities are focused on the community relationship building, and I think that message has resonated throughout the department, and the officers get it.
Tampa City Council Chair Frank Reddick, who we've heard during this interview, has been critical of the police, citing so many bicyclists, and is in favor of this a review panel. Say that until he got the news that last week, he had been upset that police were citing so many bicyclists in his East Tampa district. So Laila, I should ask you, what do you think about the statistics since the new police chief has been in, especially in this biking while black issue? Do you think that the decrease is a good thing, and do you think it's going to last?
I think it's a great thing. I think that I've spoken to police officers and police departments across the state, and it's generally seen as bad policy for a police officer to give a bike citation. So I've spoken to but at the same time, I mean, do we have to wait for this investigation, dramatic media checks and balances, or do we have to basically just hope that we have a great police chief that cares about community policing, or do we create within the structure of our city those checks and balances? I think that if we had a civilian review board that was able to review the policies and make recommendations to a police chief and the mayor, that we wouldn't have seen those disparities in the bike citations that came out in the Tampa Bay Times piece. I also don't think it's a coincidence that the bike citations are down so drastically. I mean, that was really telling. But at the same time, we need to sustain the accountability, and in order to sustain the accountability, we have to create an independent civilian review board.
813-239-9663. You're listening to Midpoint on 88.5 FM, WMNF Tampa. My name is Seán Kinane. My guest is Laila Abdelaziz, Legislative and Government Affairs Director at CAIR, Florida. It's 12:50 in the afternoon. We have about 10 minutes left. We'll go now to Ray in Tampa. Hi, Ray. What's on your mind? Thanks so much, Ray. Yeah, well, let's move on to Otto in Sarasota. Hi, Otto. What would you like to say? Excellent. How are you?
Well, a well-structured civilian review board, the models around the country that are successful have the resources to hire their own special counsel and to hire independent investigators to do civilian complaint investigations. So that is also something that the community proposal from the Tampa for Justice group has requested, that for the civilian review board to be able to have its own special counsel. I think that's a fair point. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really explored the realities or the policies there. We're not really, the community proposal does not ask for City of Tampa police officers to live in the city, but
All right, interesting points you bring up there, Otto. I appreciate your call. Thanks so much. I'm going to read a couple of texts that have come in. All right, thanks, Otto. And one person from 813 says, maybe if we all just started referring to ourselves as just Americans, there would be a little more unity among us. Being born here, you are an American, and that is signed American. And I think the same person writes, we'll come back to that. All right, we have a phone, oh no, here we go. We have Pat on the air from Tampa. Hi, Pat. What's on your mind?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. So this is
Hi,
Pat.
Pat.